Hey guys, it's Michaela, and today I definitely don't have a clickbaity title. I don't know what you mean. I want to talk about how I have just had a week where I have read more books than I read the previous month, and why that is. And I mean, Gretchen and I have made videos about how we tend to shift our reading or read different things or not read at all depending on our mental health, but I also have the difficulty of if I can't, quote unquote, get in the mood to read, I can't read at all. And this doesn't mean that I need a completely silent environment. I need to be in my chair, in my room, because I can read just about anywhere. I have read in a busy hallway at school for hours. I have read alone in my bedroom for hours. I have read in class while the teacher is teaching in high school. And I have read for a few minutes at a time on breaks during work. It doesn't need to be a long stretch, a short stretch. I just need to be ready. A lot of that goes down to the book itself. So yes, I do definitely need the book to be calling to me. My blog is called The Pied Piper Calls because for me, books have almost always had this weird siren song where I was sitting there and couldn't pull myself away. There have literally been times where people had to shake me because I was so zoned into this book in this other world that everything around me has disappeared. Now, I don't always have the luxury of reading a book that I am so head over heels sucked into and in love with that everything else disappears. So I wanted to talk about what it is that helps me read when everything around me keeps pulling me out and keeps distracting me. If you have watched any of my artsy videos, you definitely already have an idea of what it is that I do when I want to sit down and read, but I've been struggling to do so. Especially if you go and watch from last summer when I did the try a chapter tag. I think it was last summer, it might have been last spring. It was a while ago, guys. It had sort of this opening thing where I tried to show what I do in order to make myself comfortable, get myself ready, and put myself into the mood that perhaps this particular book or these books, which I haven't started yet and don't know whether I'm going to fall head over heels in love with, will affect me. The first of which is to get myself a yummy beverage, whether it be delicious tea, a nice cool glass of water, some form of coffee, some form of juice. I don't drink soda, but if that's your jam, having that close at hand is very important to me because it means that I don't have to put the book down, get up, and go and get something to drink. If you are a person who prefers to snack, while I don't recommend snacking while reading because similar to snacking while watching TV, you tend to graze and then realize you've eaten so much and not have had a healthy amount of whatever it is that you were eating. It's less of an issue when what I'm doing is drinking glass after glass of water. I need to do that anyway, so I prefer to have a drink handy. The second thing is the lighting. I have a tendency to want to have not an overabundance of light, but also not having it too dark. I also like to have some sort of light changes around me, which is why something like sitting in a hallway was very good, because as people passed it blocked the light a little bit, and the movement of the light actually helps me stay focused on the book. If I didn't get carsick, I'm sure I would love reading in cars for the very same reason that as the light shifts, it sort of helps get me into a trance. The way that I do this most is through candles, because candles will throw shadows and light in interesting ways. They also have a lovely smell if you pick the right ones, and that also just sort of calms me and relaxes me. It makes me happy. But that particular thing, the movement of light for me is very helpful in getting zoned in. I might also put something on the TV but turn the sound off because listening to people talking while trying to read can be difficult. It isn't always, like I said, sometimes I can get so sucked in it doesn't matter, but it can sometimes be difficult. On that line, I will also listen to music, but usually if I'm going to the point where I need to have some sort of background sound in the same way that the light is background light, background sound, I prefer something without words. So I'll go to scores, I'll go to instrumental pieces, I'll go to classical music, jazz, things that have a tendency not to have words that would interrupt my ingestion of and perhaps even interject itself into what I'm reading, because it's very literary, auditory based. I will instead choose something that is just sort of mellow, something that adds to the mood perhaps, or something that is just in general to help keep my actual physical ears occupied so I'm not listening for every sound, for perhaps there is a murderer in my house just like in my book. Who knows? But that's another aspect of helping me get into the mood of reading. The biggest thing about reading is that I tend to enjoy reading the most when I've been reading a lot. Meaning when I finish a book, I pick up another book. If I spend time between books, and I'm not talking like a couple hours, I'm literally meaning days, weeks, months, it's harder and harder to pick up a new book or even pick up another book that I had been reading at the same time, because I'm not as invested in those characters. I'm not as into the habit almost of reading. And I'm definitely one of those people that reads faster towards the end of the book than I do at the beginning. It's harder for me to get into a book when I'm learning about all of the new characters. And while I'm not a big proponent of in media res, it definitely for me moves me forward more once the plot has started going. I can read slow books, I can read books that take a while to get going, but I will always read faster towards the end of a novel when I'm like getting ready to finish, when things are coming together and I'm figuring things out, as opposed to at the beginning when I'm just learning about people. It's like testing the waters. I'll dip my toe in a little bit. This is one of the reasons I read so many books. I'll start a bunch of books at the same time, and whichever one captures me the most I'll zoom through, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. That's what I wanted to talk about this week. The other thing you can bet, because I've read so many books this week, is that there will be some book reviews coming up. One of which is going to be part of a joint thing where I need to read several other books or reread a couple, so it may not be coming very, very soon. The second of which is the book club video, which will be coming not this week, but next week? It will be on the 26th. I think that's 2 weeks from, well, today's a Friday, so it's not this coming Wednesday, the Wednesday after that. And the third of which I had been saying I was reading and will hopefully do a review of. I just haven't decided whether I want to do a review of only the first one or whether I want to do a review of the series as a whole. It really depends on whether or not I'm planning to read them all soon-ish. We'll see. We'll see what comes, but if I can keep on the track that I have been on my reading, there will definitely be way more reviews coming up. Plus the booktubeathon's coming up. Oh my god, all of the reading's gonna get done. I'm excited. Spoiler alert as to what next week's video is. Hashtag booktubeathon TBR. Mwah! I hope you all are having lovely weeks, and I will see you again next week.